All right, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, thank you for joining us. My name is BJ, and this is the 15-Minute BJ. Today we are joined by the lovely and talented Brian Gower of Playing Without a Pilot. Say hello.
Hello. BJ, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So this is actually one of their songs we are listening to right now. What's it called?
This song is called You Got Me.
Let's see. Brian is one of my oldest friends in the music community. I don't even want to try to say, I don't want to try to guess how long we've known each other, but since I started playing music live in shows, I've basically been on the coattails of this guy, because they are just fucking plugging away for the pop punk community in San Diego. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Playing Without a Pilot?
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. We've, kind of one of those bands that, you started in high school, but I never quit it. I'm still doing it. And so my buddy Kyle and I, we started it probably like junior year of high school. Been around, I want to say about a decade now.
Relentless.
Yeah. We learned a lot of things. Learned how to play guitar, but we never learned.
This is a good thing for people to hear at home, because I feel like they assume that once a band has made it so many years, they're just fucking good. They've made it. Like Blink-182 is 25 years old, and it's only because they're 25 years old that they're so big. But like, really, no, we could play probably for 30 more years and never hit that level, but we're going to keep on plugging away.
You're going to be those old guys at the Casbah or whatever.
Super resentful of anybody who makes it.
Or like rolling up in our court classics and like Wrangler jean shorts. And like, back in my day.
In the 2000s.
Yeah, we had good bands. You ever heard of this band called Blink-182?
Before America was blown to bits, we used to play music.
We had these pop punkers. You ever heard of Dickie shorts? Oh, yeah. We used to wear those all the time.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Playing Without a Pilot is old, just like us, but they still stay relevant because every time they put out a CD, it just gets better and better. And you guys have like, what, 5 now? 4?
Yeah, we had an EP when, we first came out, or a couple of them, and then we did our full length back in 2008. And then we put out a couple EPs since, put out a couple singles, and put out some music videos just to kind of, churn out some new tunes. But we have this one that is tentatively going to be out this spring, like a full-length album. So, not a lot of people do full-length albums anymore, but we did it. It took us a while, but we're done with it. We're happy. And it's just on our end. We just got to press it. Because I don't want to be one of those bands that be like, hey, we're playing a CD release. Well, we don't have our CDs yet, though.
Yeah, go find me on Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah. And then people are like, oh, yeah, I'm totally going to do that. Here's my Bandcamp. Can you go to my Spotify?
Yeah, here's my business card. Do work and go find me. Nobody wants to do that shit.
My SoundCloud, it's fire, fam. Yeah. I promise.
Lit. Find me on DatPiff.
Yeah. It's lit 100.
That's cool. So you got a new one coming out, and obviously there's no plan of, stopping anytime soon, so there will be more and more coming. But what I'm really in awe and admiration of, as far as Playing Without a Pilot goes, is just the fact that you guys are so hardworking. Like, nobody is doing this for you. Like, no band that I know that puts out as much stuff as you guys, like videos, CDs, shows, and you still hold down 40-hour-a-week jobs.
Yeah. So it's something that we're really happy about, and it's been a labor of love. We do it for the love of rock and roll, but it's something we wanted to do and do everything on our own, because it's like, you can't pay for people to do this. And one person told me in my formative years, it's like, nobody's going to care more about your band than you. And that's exactly how I took it, and I'm running with that. We record all our own stuff. I had to learn how to record. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sitting down to a computer. I'm going to have to learn how to do this and record my own music. I learned how to do my own image editing. So I'm like, okay, well, I can draw. Let's figure out if I can do Photoshop and Illustrator. So we do our own artwork. We, make our own shirts and stuff like that. And
which is the way to do it. I mean, especially if you have the ability to do it, to put your image, to put your creativity out there. It's just never going to ring true if you're having somebody else doing it for you. Like, obviously, you can have people help you record, because it's impossible to, like, run back and push a button and go record and push a button and record and push a button and record. But when it comes to, like, putting your image out there, it's like you said, doing Photoshop and Illustrator, like, even if it's not Rembrandt quality art, it's still your art and it reflects your band way more than those people that I feel like, hey, we've got an album. Who wants to draw for us? Like,
Yeah, and it's like, there's good bands that still do that, and there's it's just something that I never took to that, and I never, it must have been how I grew up too. It's my old man kind of. It's like he owns his own business and he keeps he's his only employee, and he works with other companies and stuff like that, and he kind of was like, well, nobody's gonna work as hard as you are, and so the only thing you have control of is what you do.
yeah, if you can be your own boss, then
And so
you only have to hate your boss sometimes.
yeah, I mean, I'll hate myself all the time, but I'll be the first one in line for that train. But it's like, we played a show with a band. I'm not gonna name them, but people could probably figure out from our past shows recently. It's like they had, a band of 4 people. They had a crew of 8 people setting up their equipment, dialing in their equipment, and we're like, okay, well, we showed up and they had a big, trailer, big, huge, tour van and stuff like that, and we're like, okay, cool, and we're the opening support, and they're like, the venue was okay, well, how many, what kind of, bus do you have and stuff like that, asking me like our itinerary. I'm like
we're coming in a Ford Econoline.
yeah, I'm like, I got my pickup truck, and if we could have like 10 minutes to unload, we'll be all right. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you need for your backline, your rider and stuff like that? I'm like, if you could have a monitor, it'd be cool. And if you want to mic up my amp, that'd be great. But I'm like, we're fine without it.
You should have fucking asked for the most ridiculous stuff. Just start Van Halening your fucking riders, because that's how Van Halen got big. They weren't big because their music was good. They're big because their riders were insane.
I need plenty of green M&Ms and KY jelly.
Yeah.
Don't ask any questions. I need all that, but no questions.
I need 4 strippers with only 3 legs between them.
Figure it out.
Make math. Yeah. It's interesting to see it the way though. Like if people really knew what goes on behind some of these, big or little shows,
yeah, and
it's just ridiculous to see the ego that sometimes comes with it. It's like, man,
yeah,
we're playing the same fucking place. Man.
Yeah, I love, I love the band, the fact that we've been everywhere. It's like we've played really big shows in a lot of big venues in San Diego. We played a lot of really small shows. We played like a Monday night in Olympia to the other band on tour.
Your band was the only band I got to play on main stage at Soma with.
Yeah,
not even any of my own bands made it that far.
Even having the ability to have friends come and play guitar, and you helping me out and stuff like that, and it's like we've done a lot, and so people are like, how do you keep going? I'm like, well, it's just because this is what we love to do. It's like my bass player is my best friend. We've been friends since we were like 8 years old, and I'm like, that's where it started, and that's one thing that keeps us going. It's like,
you don't really know anything.
We're doing this. We learned how to play instruments together. It's basically, I had a bass guitar, he had a bass guitar, and we're like,
let's do a 2-bass band.
Well, yeah, we were like, okay, well, somebody has to play guitar. So I lost that bet, and I had to learn how to play guitar, and that's how we started a band. And it's usually the opposite, because everybody's like, oh, I want to be a guitar player. I want to be a guitar player. So it was like basically like, okay, well, I got the short stick, so I had to learn how to play guitar for the band, and that's kind of where it all started.
I think it worked out, man. You got some tasty licks.
Yeah,
so,
some hot licks, man.
Some hot licks.
So one thing I didn't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about my band because we'll get stale real quick. I wanted to talk. Your last guest was like a killer guitar player. I'm not a killer guitar player, but I got some cool guitars. So I want to talk about some new tech. Like I not only the playing the show side of things, I'm also kind of a gear nut, a gear nerd.
That's why I was excited, not only to come in and blow you about your band, but yeah, I want to hear your tech nerd stuff, because you're really excited about this new thing you got on your guitar.
Yeah.
And that's what this webcast is going to be about. It's not so much just about bringing in my friends and sucking their dicks. It's going to be more about sucking their dicks while they show you something cool.
And I want to, maybe your listeners are going to get bored and switch off this part, but I love guitars. I love that's like another hobby of mine. It's like, people like to fish or whatever, or do coke or whatever. But
fish or do coke.
One of my things is I love guitars. I love the look of them. I love the idea. And I get all nerdy about it. And I'm all like, oh, well, this guitar is, a Les Paul sounds different than a Fender because of the scale length, because of the strings. If you have your intonation set this way, and I set up my bass player's equipment, and I do all that, and I EQ everything to the band, and like when we play live, and he's happy with that, because I am like a pig in shit, like whatever it is.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you get to do all the work, and he just gets to sound good.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, I'm like, if he sounds good, I sound good. And so, anyways, what I wanted to talk about specifically is this new. It's not even really that new. I think it came out like 2012, something like that. It's Evertune Bridge. So it's this thing that I recently added to my guitar, and I cannot stop squawking about it. It's great. It's this thing that
So Evertune, if you're out there listening, just give this guy a fucking endorsement already.
yeah, no. I mean, they're still a small company, and they're still trying to make waves. And it seems to be picking up. Well, okay, let me talk about what it is. It's a bridge that you add on, add onto your guitar, and it really just keeps your guitar in tune. It's like springs and sprockets. It's nothing electrical. It's all mechanical. You kind of set it, and you forget it.
It cooks turkeys.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Slap chop. It's
You're
really.
gonna love my nuts.
Yeah. It's not like I don't want to sound like a commercial, but I just can't stop talking about it. I feel like small companies are just like small bands. Like they're trying to make something. They're trying to like compete with like the Leviathans of Fender, Gibson, and Marshall, stuff like that. It's like but some guy created something really good and has a patent for it. It's like some bands. It's starting to pick up in like pop punk, but it's really took off in metal scene, which are like okay. You hear like, oh, Ola England. Okay, well that's cool. Okay, maybe some people from who play more like Washburns and ESPs and like pointy guitars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just like you really think of like
people that really like to use those Floyd Rose
Yeah.
bridges and stuff.
But this
and
is like,
it's similar. Like you can't see it because obviously this is just a podcast. We're not showing you anything.
great
yet,
radio.
But yeah, I mean it from layman's eyeballs, it looks similar to a Floyd Rose in the fact that it goes through the back. It's got those springs pulling it tight, keeping the tension. But how does it differ? What is the actual benefit of having this bridge compared to a stock bridge?
It's
or
not a
anything else?
tremolo system. It's very much like it's a hardtail bridge style. Like you
For
can't
the retards like me out there, explain a tremolo system.
And tremolo is like okay, like a whammy bar. Like think of like Eddie, very famous. Like Eddie would be like boo, dive bombs and like pulling it up and.
Oh, you guys are
squealing,
on
just
first name basis, huh? You and Mr. Van Halen.
Oh, Mr. Edmund von Hohenheim. Maybe you heard of him, or Eddie Van Halen. So he'd do have the bar on his bridge, and he'd pull it back to get the pitch higher, pull it lower to get the pitch lower. Pull it forward to get it lower.
So this is just missing that bar.
Yeah, it doesn't need it. A lot of people, you figure, it's 2017 now. Like that whole dive bomb thing is kind of dated. It's not. I mean, it's not going away, but
I'm bringing it to the acoustic scene. Don't be telling me it's dead.
Yeah, you're gonna start doing squealing with your acoustics. But this thing is like I don't do any of that stuff. It's kind of fun, but I never involve it with my music. I just want to. I kind of approach the guitar a little bit more utilitarian. Like I want it to stay in tune because I want to play my guitar in tune. I want the song to be in tune.
And now you can get like pedals that kind of do that same thing, right? Like not necessarily a wah pedal, but there are pedals similar to it that'll do that same thing, that same bending sound without actually stretching your strings at all.
Yeah. So a problem I have with Gibson Les Pauls, especially like I love them. I love the look of them. They're cool. They're Gibson Les Paul. Who doesn't love them? But they just don't stay in tune. So I tried everything under the sun besides this. Somebody told me about it 2 years ago. I didn't want to listen to him because I'm like, that's a new dumb thing. I don't want that on my guitar. Billy Joe doesn't have it.
Although he probably does somewhere.
Or Billy Gibbons doesn't even have it. I don't care. They don't have it. I don't need it. But then, okay, I tried, changing the nut out, locking tuners. I, stretched my strings out, changing graphite saddles, everything, and it just would not stay in tune. Properly set up. I took it to different techs, and it was like, okay, if it went out of tune just a little bit, I'm like, that's not good. I mean, I'm the only guitar player in my band, and if I'm out of tune, the whole band sounds bad. So I was like, okay, I finally took the dive because I had a friend who is in a band. I shout him out. He's Steph. He's in a band called Short Stories. He has 2 guitars with these bridges on it.
I know those dudes.
Yeah. They're really great, and I kept seeing him live, and he kept telling me about it. He's like, Brian, try this. You should try it. You should try it. Until I finally actually okay, I saved up enough money because these aren't cheap and cheery either. They're a little cost a little.
How much does it run you, Bala?
The whole thing to get it, the bridge and install was $600. So it was like buying a guitar. I should have just bought a guitar, but I'm like, yeah, I talk about it now. It's worthwhile. It's probably the best purchase I've done in the past 5 years.
But opposed to buying just any guitar, like you're making this guitar more your style, your guitar. It's going to be eventually perfected to the point where you don't need to add anything to it.
Yeah.
So that's why you add things.
It's kind of at that point now. So anyway, so what this thing does, it just keeps the strings in tune. And it's just a simple of a concept that it sounds. It's difficult because you have, people have tuners. They tune all the time. They have Gibson has these robotic tuners that keep your thing electronically in tune, but everybody does these things that just don't really work. This is,
the only surefire system you've
yeah,
found.
it seems to be working for me. And it's like, I've talked about it and I'm like, at least bring it to just other listeners that, I mean, because to me it's fun, it's cool, and I'm like, I like talking about gadgets, and I just happened to bring this one here today. And it works. So what it does is that you set the tension at the bridge, or the tuning at the bridge, and you're able to just keep it in tune, and you're able to keep with the tuning keys actually whether or not you can bend the string or keep it like a solid pitch. So I'll play you, like, I have it set up to where I can bend the string. So it's like, so I'm able to do my vibrato,
But if you made it tighter, then you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, so I'm like, I can pretend like I'm, Stevie Ray Vaughan or something. Like,
Stevie Ray Bryan.
and so, but anyways, so what you do is it's just like a weird vibe, because I'm like, you have to like relearn how to tune your guitar. Like, if I handed this to somebody, like a friend was like, "Oh, can I borrow your guitar?" and I told him no. So he thought like instantly I was a dick. And so I was like, like, no, you can't even play my guitar.
Don't even
but I was
look
like,
at it.
so I was like, okay, until I explained to him, like, this is a totally new system. I'll have to show you how to do it. And I'm like, you can't change your tuning. I play in a different tuning than he does. And I'm like, it's set. I can't give it to you.
Yeah, once it's in, it's kind of in, though.
Yeah, so he looked at me like, he kind of still didn't get it. So I had to show him what it was. So, okay, so anyway, so how about I'm gonna bend the string.
For those of you listening at home, he is beating the shit out of his guitar neck right now. Things you would not normally do, because you know that a Gibson would go right out of tune.
Yeah, and it's like,
that is impressive.
so it's still
Maybe
perfectly...
for a comparison, I'll bust out my Les Paul and we'll bend the shit out of the strings and show you just how out of tune and how quickly they go.
It's still in tune. I'm like, it's something so simple that you're like, oh, well. But to me, I'm like, that is so worth it. I'm like, I can play a show. I played a 45-minute set, didn't have to tune once. And to me, I'm like, that's great. Because when you're playing live, like, and you don't have text, you don't have anything like that, like, your time is...
You don't have an 8-person
crew. For lack of a better phrase, it's precious. It's at a premium, It's like you have 45 minutes, like, that's all you get in front of people. Sometimes you get 25 minutes. And if you're spending, like, 5 or, after every song, you're tuning, and it's like, oh, it's only 10 seconds, like 30 seconds. You could lose somebody's attention like that.
Especially in today's world, everybody's got ADD.
Yeah, they're like, okay, well, the song's done. Oh, I'm gonna walk, out of the room, or like, oh, I'm going to the bar. And if it's like a detached bar, then you're like, hey, they're gonna stay there the whole time. But if you can get their attention, and not lose it, and from tuning and stuff like that, like I'm tuning, I just check at the beginning of the show and it's done. I'm like, to me, I love that. So, anyway, so I'll talk about how you can actually set it, because this is another question people have, is like, oh, well, the strings constantly stay in tune, so you can't do anything about it. Well, so you kind of like, almost like you're loosening or trying to get the string to flat. You do that, and now, you kind of almost get it to where it bends out of pitch, and now...
So even bending, it's not changing.
Yeah, look,
that note at all. Yeah,
I'm bending it almost to the the fourth string D. I'm bending it all the way to the second.
Yeah, for people that don't know what bending is, he's pulling the string down, which in guitar string world, will take you out of tune pretty quickly, but also changes the sound of that string when you're playing it. And right now he's going back and forth, not even changing it. That's pretty cool.
So it's like, if you're like, a heavy-handed player, and I tend to be. So if you're recording, I mean, I haven't done a lot of tracks. I've done some demos with this guitar, but I'm like, you could set all your, if you're doing rhythm tracks, set them all to where they won't, you can bend them, they won't go out of string, and or out of tune, and you just go to town, and your tracks are done. It just takes however long for you to play it correctly. It's up to you. You don't have to tune after every take. It's great. I'm like, I love these things. So I'm like, happy to bore your listeners about it.
And a slight little bend in the recording process changes things. Like if you're just playing a straight up guitar and you do that, you're playing a G chord, but one of your fingers just starts to slide a little bit. It will change the way that chord sounds because it's altering the note. So what you're showing me here is, you could bend this string from fucking here to Timbuktu, and it didn't change the note at all. So even if you're kind of a sloppy player in the studio, as long as you're playing the right notes and the right pressure, you're not going to slide out of key unless you want to.
And it's something that, like, I've been playing for better part of 15 years or so. And so I've learned how to overcome these things. And now I'm like, oh, this new technology came. I'm like, it just makes me that much more I can take advantage of that more. I don't have to learn how to, from this. I don't know if that's better or worse for guitar players. You're like, oh, I don't have to learn how to keep my fingers straight or whatever, or learn how to
you're a
not
very
bend.
animated player. Like, I recommend anybody goes out and checks out a Plant Without a Pilot show because, I mean, Brian is one of the most entertaining frontmen that, San Diego is producing right now because you see a lot of bands where they sound really good, and I'm not knocking their songs or their bands at all, but they're just so fucking boring to watch. Like, I'm not asking everybody to jump around and do 3-foot jumps and, slap each other on stage, but move.
Just have a little fun, you know?
Like, and I'm a huge Blink-182 fan, you know this. I've got a Blink-182 tattoo on my chest. They were the pinnacle of the energy band when I watched them. Granted, they're like dirt now. They're old as fuck. But Mark Hoppus, when I saw him, he was just sitting there. Like, I saw him in San Diego on this last tour. He did not move. Like, he sat there and, looked comfortable behind the mic, which you should never do in music because tension and drama is what gets people's attention. Now, obviously, he's Blink-182, and he doesn't need any advice from me. As a watcher and a lifelong fan, it's just boring. I want to see you jump and move.
If you're listening.
Yeah, Mark, when you hear this, you hit me up and take note.
Give me a call, and I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. I got a couple questions for you.
I mean, I'm super happy. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm glad they brought Matt Skiba in the band. I still miss Tom, but if anybody's going to replace him, it's him.
Yeah.
But if they did not have Skiba, I would be so upset with Blink-182 after that show.
I kind of was hoping they would do something that it doesn't make sense for them to do, but I kind of had the inkling that I'm like, oh, it'd be great if every tour
they just change guitar player.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, it'd be great if you saw different guitar players.
Conspiracy nut, and I still think this is some type of conspiracy. They put Skiba in as an interim player for Tom to do all his crazy alien stuff and his books. And then once he's ready to come back, they'll be like, oh, well, now Tom's just going to play the Skiba songs like Skiba played the Tom songs, and Tom's back. But
maybe
that's just me wishful thinking and hoping that 45-year-old men can put their differences down and play pop punk.
I mean, if David Lee Roth can come back to Van Halen,
I saw that tour too.
Yeah, that could happen. I could totally see that.
Yeah, I think Blink-182 is our generation's Van Halen.
Yeah, all those hot licks that he plays, I don't know if you can count this one, kids, but this one is a little hard to follow. That's our Panama or whatever. That's the eruption.
Hot for teacher, yeah.
The eruption of our generation. It's just
It has to be. That's the second time that riff's been played on this podcast now.
I wish I knew a different Blink song, but yeah. I mean, I can't say enough about this product, and I think it's really cool. A lot of people are, I think the guitar players, if you have something new that's out of the ordinary, they'll find reasons to not like it and reasons to bash about it. And this is one thing that constantly people's like, oh, well, what if you change tunings on your guitar or drop tune? I'm like, well, I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
And so it works for me. And so they're like, oh, well, that cost $600. You could have just bought a new guitar. I'm like, yeah, I could have, but I didn't.
That was not the point.
And
the point was to enhance this guitar.
It was, he's like, oh, and then somebody said tuning after every song or two is just normal. It's like, what's the big deal? I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, and a lot of people get their opinions from playing in their room. They've never. Some of these people have never, or I'm assuming some of these people have never actually been on a stage where you have a time slot that you need to fill, and your goal is to get people's attention. So you lose that attention if you stop playing to tune. And again, not just the Les Paul, but the style you play is very aggressive, so your guitar gets out of tune way faster than most people.
When you're on stage too, you get excited. Everybody gets excited. You're like, oh man, no matter how long I've been doing it, it's still fun and new and exciting. And I'm a heavy-handed player on both hands. I chord the strings really I'm strangling the guitar to death, and then I pull, I'm beating it with my right hand.
Again, I recommend anybody goes and sees this guy play because he's describing it exactly.
And so
he's strangling and beating his guitar. So anybody out there in the genre of S&M should definitely hit up Ryan Gower. He'll be your best friend.
But it's just something partially because maybe you learn how to play guitar correctly. I'm like, oh, you be calm, be confident, and be slow and pick lightly the faster you go. But when you're on stage, you're just like all that goes out the window. You're
Right
like,
out the window.
yeah, forget about it. Whatever. I'm just gonna
Exactly. And when you're playing in your room, you can stop after every song and tune if you want to, or whatever. Nobody cares.
But I'm like, nobody.
When you have people's attention, that is valuable. You cannot be spending time tuning. That's why the big bands have all these little guitar techs that you see run out after every song with a new guitar, because the last guitar either is in the wrong tuning or it's just getting slightly out of tune, and they don't have the time to sit there and tune on stage. I guarantee you, if you go out to see your favorite band play, like big band that sells millions of records, you will never see those guys tune their own guitar. Ever.
Yeah.
So if you can not tune your own guitar on stage, it just brings you closer to that level, I think.
Yeah. It's like, one thing I kept on trying to say is like, people just knock anything new. If it's something new, it's bad. I'm like, and I was like that too, and I'm like, I will wholeheartedly say I was thinking these products were stupid, they were dumb, what a waste of money, and here I am talking about it on your podcast. So, yep. And then, I think that's kind of where in the age of like, almost like a renaissance. So many people are putting out ideas and putting out products, and it's great. And I'm like, you don't have to go to your Guitar Center to find something cool. You can look online, you can look on Instagram, you can find new companies, find something small. A lot of dudes in their
garages are just modifying guitars and stuff on their own now.
It's just like music, you don't have to turn on the radio. I don't even know the last time I turned on my radio. It's like, I can find things on, Bandcamp, Spotify, find new things out on, podcasts that people are just doing on their own. Like, they don't need labels, they don't need something like that, they don't need big funding, but it's like, if more people talked about it. And that's just like one thing. I love bands, but I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk about, good companies are doing something good for music and musicians. I'm like, yeah, it costs a lot of money, but think about the research and development that they did just so that I can play my shitty songs in tune on stage.
And it may have even started off as just the research and development so that they could play their shitty songs on stage. And then they're like, and then somebody's going to like this later on.
Hey, that's a good idea. Put it out. And then, people are going to be talking about it on a podcast on YouTube.
Exactly. For 5 people to listen to. But speaking of which, I think we have pretty much exhausted this podcast. This is another one for the record books. So thank you to Brian Gower from Plane Without a Pilot, a San Diego emo punk band.
Yeah.
We've decided they are now emo punk instead of just straight punk. So if you have any questions or comments about that, be sure to light up our comments like you did for the last video. And Brian, why don't you tell the people what you guys have coming up next, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, as this podcast is being recorded, we have a show coming up in the following week. We're playing Soma, so an old stomping ground of ours.
On what day?
On February 10th. We're playing that one. It's a Friday night, so come out, get your dancing shoes on.
Get your all ages show on.
Yeah, and then we're playing with our friends, Roxy Gun. They're coming from Las Vegas on tour, and we're playing the Go Lounge on Tuesday, February 28th. And
I fell off that stage one time.
Yeah, I'm probably going to fall off that one too. I got some good beers over there.
Yes, they do.
Hey, so that one, and then we got one more. Let me take up a little bit more of your time. March 25th, we're playing for 91X Local Brews, Local Grooves, or it might be the other way around. Like local band, local beer fest kind of thing at House of Blues. So playing with our buddies, The New Addiction, we're playing with Fresh Brunettes, and a lot of at least 15 other San Diego bands. So check that one out. It should be fun. House of Blues is always a good time.
Definitely. And then where can people find your stuff? PlaneWithoutAPilot.com, correct?
Correct. We're on a lot of your social media and your apps. So we're on
Pornhub, all that stuff.
Yeah,
So just search Plane Without a Pilot. They are the only one out there, and they're the only one like them out there. So get out there, support San Diego music, support your friends, and just do something.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting down, not doing anything, and listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
But after this, do something.